and I wish everybody a welcome. I am really looking forward to presenting you today with I have to advance my slide here. There we go. To presenting you all with concepts on managing and leading creative teams. I'm assuming everyone today is either managing a team currently or you aspire to lead one in the future, maybe even the near future. Today's webinar, the information I'm presenting today, is intended really just to give you some insight into what I think it takes to be a successful leader managing a creative team. A little bit about me. As Jenny mentioned, I'm a creative business leader. I'm experienced at building and transforming creative teams with proven strategic and creative results. In the past 20 years, I've managed anywhere from 1 to 25 people at a time. In my current position here in sunny Arizona, which is a nice change from New York, where I moved from 2 years ago. So anybody enduring 12 degrees or less, I'm sitting here in the sun. Sorry. Right now I manage 7 people and I'm hiring, and I love working with creative people. My background is as a graphic designer, but about 10 or more years ago, I decided that I wanted to take the management route. I had my own design studio at the time. I had already worked in-house at the Gap and Banana Republic and the National Football League. I went out on my own. While on my own, I realized I need to learn how to manage a business. It's not just enough to be creative. So I started learning everything I could about managing a business. And I went back to school to Pratt Institute, got my master's in design management, and since then went back in-house and I've been managing teams. And I continue to learn and I continue to take classes, and I've taught design management myself at the graduate level. So I've put into practice the things that I'm going to present to you today, and I'm fairly confident that they all work. I'm going to present today's webinar in 4 sections. This is the first section is a brief overview of some management models. The second will be on planning and goal setting, which I think everybody may be familiar with, especially if you're in-house. The third is the meatiest section. This will be on managing and leading and the skills that I think are important to managing creative teams. And I'm sure everyone is taking notes, but I know you'll get the whole presentation in email in a couple of days, including my lovely voice, but I'll also put the PowerPoint presentation itself up online on the InSource website later this week, and I'll provide more information about that at the end. So first, let's start with 2 management structures that I just want to present to make sure we're on the same page. The first is the chain of command model. This is a hierarchical, top-down reporting structure. It's something that we're used to. Anybody who's gone to school or had a job, you're used to having a boss. That boss has a boss, so on and so forth. The advantage of a chain of command model is that it's really what we're used to. This works really well in large organizations that has multiple specialized functions where information needs to run up and down the chain, as it were. The disadvantage of a process like this or a structure like this is it's often very rigid and very bureaucratic for creativity and efficiency. This doesn't really work well in smaller organizations either, or in an organization where there's a lot of employee involvement or diversification, or their work is evaluated subjectively. In other words, creative teams. What does work is a model called the coaching model. Now I'm using a sports metaphor here because it makes sense. The coaching model is where the manager or the coach has the responsibility for achieving goals, in other words, winning. The employees or the team have the responsibility for performing tasks. In this case, the manager needs to organize, motivate, strategize, and lead by example, but not by rank. This works really well for getting employees interested in the big picture. while also adding their expertise to the team, being a key to their success. Diversity in skills is a key to a successful team. Just think about baseball or football or soccer, all the different positions that are played within a team and the role the coach has. It's very much like creative services. You have designers, video producers, digital designers, copywriters, all creative people, all working towards the same goal of completing a successful project, but everybody has a very specific role. As a manager, you need to get them up to their game, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So these are the two models. There are many more models, but we only have about an hour, and I just want to make sure we use the hour appropriately. So the next section, and we're building up, each section will be a little longer, is planning and goal setting. What is planning? It's the management process of determining what an organization needs to do in order to accomplish its goals. There are three main components to planning. You have to define your goals, how you're going to win the game, what your project will look like at the end when you deliver it to the client. How profitable will you be, or how much money will you have saved? You have to develop a strategy to achieve the defined goals. How are you going to do all of this? And then you need to design plans to implement that strategy. And there's a tool called a gap analysis to do that. Planning roles are simple. There's organizing, there's directing, and there's controlling. And those are done at three different phases of a project. Organizing is everything you do up front before you even start sketching or concepting. You're working on the timeline. You're establishing a creative brief. Hopefully you're all using creative briefs. I know it's tough when a project is moving fast, but this really helps. That creative brief is the tool that we can use to make sure all the planning we did up front, all the goals that we're establishing, which are now written down, are what's going to lead the team towards the results you're looking for. And then after the project, you can review the brief and see how well did we hit our goals. There's three basic types of organizational planning, and each one is done at different levels of an organization. Strategic planning, usually handled by upper levels of management in an organization, something that takes longer. You're planning for a longer range, anything that's 5 years out or more.